The mop bucket squeaked against the marble floor of the 52nd floor lobby, and Marcus Bell gripped the handle so tight his knuckles turned pale, because in his pocket was a folded job application, and on that application was a name that used to mean something in this city, before everything fell apart. 3 years ago, Marcus had a corner office. 3 years ago, he had a team of 40 people who called him boss with respect instead of pity. Then his wife passed away in a car accident on a rain-soaked highway, leaving him alone with a 6-year-old daughter named Ruby and a grief so heavy it swallowed every ambition he ever had. He stopped showing up to work. He stopped answering calls. The company he'd helped build let him go quietly, the way people let go of things they don't know how to fix. And slowly, month by month, the man who once closed 7-figure deals became a man who applied for janitorial positions just to keep the lights on and Ruby's stomach full. If you believe people deserve second chances, if you believe kindness can rebuild a life that's been broken, hit that like button right now, drop a comment telling us where you're watching from, and subscribe to Kindness Corner, because stories like this one deserve to be seen by as many hearts as possible. Marcus had submitted over 200 applications in 18 months. Warehouse work. Delivery driving. Security. Anything. Most never replied. A few interviews ended the moment someone noticed the 3-year gap in his resume and the vague, guarded way he explained it. Landlords didn't wait for explanations, they wanted rent. So Marcus and Ruby moved twice, each apartment smaller and further from her school, until they landed in a 1-bedroom above a laundromat where the pipes rattled all night and Ruby slept with a nightlight because the shadows on the ceiling frightened her. Every morning, Marcus braided Ruby's hair before school, even though his fingers were clumsy at it, even though he'd watched her mother do it 1,000 times and never once thought he'd have to learn. Every night, after she fell asleep clutching the stuffed rabbit her mother had given her, Marcus sat at the kitchen table with a stack of bills and did math that never came out right. He never let Ruby see him cry. He saved that for after she was asleep, when the apartment was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the sound of his own breathing, ragged and exhausted. So when a listing appeared for a janitorial position at Holloway Tower, one of the tallest, most prestigious corporate buildings in the city, Marcus almost didn't apply. It felt like walking back into the life that had rejected him, except now he'd be mopping the floors of an empire instead of running one. But Ruby needed new shoes. The heat bill was due. Pride, he had learned, was a luxury poor men couldn't afford. So he put on his cleanest shirt, printed his application, and walked in. He didn't know that the CEO of Holloway Tower's parent company had a personal policy. She reviewed every hire for facilities and janitorial staff herself, because she believed dignity started at the bottom of an org chart, not the top. Her name was Simone Carter, and she had built her company from a single consulting contract into a billion-dollar enterprise over 12 years of relentless, unglamorous work. She was known in the industry as brilliant, exacting, and untouchable, the kind of executive who intimidated boardrooms without raising her voice. What almost nobody knew was that 12 years earlier, before any of it, before the company, before the wealth, before the glass office with the skyline view, Simone had been a single mother herself, evicted from her apartment with a toddler on her hip, and the only reason she hadn't ended up on the street was a stranger named Marcus Bell. She had never forgotten him. Back then, Marcus had been a mid-level manager at a small firm, and Simone had been an unpaid intern desperate for any position that would let her feed her daughter. When the internship coordinator tried to turn her away for missing a single interview, because she'd been in a hospital waiting room with a sick child and no one to call, it was Marcus who intervened, who vouched for her, who quietly arranged for her to have a second chance nobody else offered. He'd loaned her bus fare for 2 months without ever asking for it back. He told her once, in a hallway she still remembered word for word, that everyone deserves one person who doesn't give up on them, and that he'd rather be that person than watch her disappear into a system that already had. Simone never saw him again after she left that company for a better opportunity he himself had encouraged her to take. But she never stopped looking, in some quiet corner of her mind, for a way to repay a debt she thought could never truly be repaid. Now she sat behind her glass desk, reviewing applications for janitorial staff the way she always did, treating each one with the same seriousness she gave to executive hires, because she remembered exactly what it felt like to be invisible on paper. And then she saw the name. Marcus Bell. Her hand trembled around the application. For a moment, the noise of the office disappeared entirely, and she was 24 years old again, standing in a hallway with a toddler's cough echoing in her memory, hearing a stranger tell her she mattered when the whole world had told her otherwise. She looked up, and there he was, visible through the glass, standing near the elevator bank in a gray uniform, a mop in his hand, a badge on his chest that said nothing about who he used to be or what he had given up to survive. He looked older. Tired in a way that lived behind the eyes. But it was him. Simone stood up so fast her chair rolled backward against the window, and for the first time in years, the woman known throughout the industry for never showing emotion in a boardroom felt her eyes fill with tears she didn't try to hide. She didn't send an assistant. She walked out herself, past stunned employees who had never seen her leave her desk mid-review for anything, and she said his name out loud in the hallway the way he once said hers, like it mattered, like he was still someone worth stopping for. Marcus turned, confused, uncertain, bracing instinctively for another door about to close. And then he saw her face, and recognition flooded through him, and for the first time in 3 years, someone looked at him not as a name on a background check or a gap in a resume, but as the man who had once refused to let her disappear. What followed wasn't charity. Simone didn't hand him a check to ease her own conscience and walk away. She offered him a position that matched the man she remembered, not out of pity, but out of the same belief he'd once shown her, that a person's worst season doesn't define their worth. She helped him find his footing again, not by erasing his struggle, but by finally giving someone the chance to see past it. Ruby got new shoes that winter. But more than that, she got to watch her father stand a little taller, to hear him laugh again in a way she hadn't heard since her mother passed, to understand, even at 7 years old, that kindness, once given freely, has a way of finding its way back home. If this story moved you even a little, if it reminded you that no act of kindness is ever truly wasted, please take a moment to like this video and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. It genuinely helps this channel keep telling stories like Marcus and Simone's. And before you go, do one thing for us. Comment the word kindness below if you believe everyone deserves a second chance, no matter how far they've fallen. Because somewhere out there, someone is mopping a floor they never imagined they'd be standing on, quietly hoping that someone, anyone, still remembers who they used to be. And sometimes, against every odd, someone does.